you want them to be upfront and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Time sensitive to repairs and things like that. So you can get to it before it gets worse. Proactive, thank you. About things that need to be repaired. You don't want to have to find out about a whole bunch of stuff at the end.
Which we did.
We absolutely did. And so that definitely prolongs the amount of time to have the repairs done before you can have the next tenant moved in. First piece of game, give at least a month between when your lease ends and the next lease would start so that you have time to do those repairs. But long story short, most of the work is done before and after they move in. So I think that's a little bit more manageable if you, again, plan to do the managing of the unit. If you plan to hire someone to do that, then it really probably doesn't matter as much which one you do because you're not doing that work.
Welcome, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making and friends, to another impactful episode. We're about to go through and highlight a melanated married couple or just go through some lessons that we got. Make sure y'all tap in with the conversation. Queen, where can they go to tap in?
TheeM4Show.com.
Yes, ma'am. And make sure y'all follow us on Instagram. Queen, where can they follow us on Instagram?
TheeM4Show.
Now, if y'all haven't liked and subscribed, it would make the Queen very, very happy. If you can go ahead. Very? What should they do?
You should go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
It's free and your first step to becoming a millionaire. Go ahead and click that button. And let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
You know, when you do it without blinking is when I get a little concerned. Yeah, that look right there. That's the concerning look. But yesterday we tapped into the Black Cause Expo in Los Angeles, and a question that we asked easily over 100 youth was this question right here on the board. And it was, if you knew you could not fail, if you knew 100% you would be successful, what business would you start? Right. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, if you're watching this podcast right now, think about your answer to that question. If y'all are definitely watching live, make sure y'all put the answer inside the comments. But some of the things that came up were gardener, record label, bakery, singer, food business, basic needs,
Kay's Kitchen,
barbershop, a fashion brand. And another thing that kind of came up a lot was real estate. Right, whether it was real estate to help out the homeless, whether it was real estate to rent out to people, whether it was just plain old real estate and they didn't know exactly what they wanted to do in the business yet. They just knew they wanted to own some land, own some property. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 6, maybe more, ways that you can be investing in real estate. High level conversation. Shout out to 19 Keys. High level conversation on how to get into the real estate game. Hopefully this can spark your own interest and intrigue you to do further research, figure out which lane exactly you want to go. Queen, are you ready?
I am ready. And of course, before we dive into it, we always like to give this disclaimer that we are not real estate experts. We are just on our own investing journey. And hopefully, we can plant a seed in some of you out there today to go ahead and do your own further research. Talk to the experts, talk to the agents, the brokers, the what's the word I'm looking for?
Mortgage brokers.
Yeah, mortgage brokers.
Real estate agents.
The financiers out there, definitely. But we can plant the seed here today with what we have learned on our journey.
100%. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at TheeM4Show.com, our Instagram at TheeM4Show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show. All right, welcome back, people. Again, we are going over 6 ways for you to invest in the real estate market, planting seeds to help y'all out. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And as usual, I have my beautiful, my melanated, my smiling, my locked up, my dancing eyebrow queen. My knees are sore a little bit because of the Black College Expo yesterday. Queen herself.
Don't start them off.
Please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. And yes, my feet, actually, I'm not as sore as I was last night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a lot of standing, a lot of talking. My social energy is what's sore.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. All right. But shout out to the Black College Expo. It was a dope event.
Mhm.
A lot of beautiful melanated geniuses and scholars walking around, a lot of dope families. And of course, we got to promote Black Wall Street, the board game. But our question for everybody was, if you knew you could not fail, what business would you want to start? And there's tons of great ideas, but one of the most popular, besides a barbershop and beauty shop, was real estate. Right. So we wanted to do a little bit of a intro into real estate. We're going to talk about some things that we are currently doing and we've already done. Right. We'll talk about a few strategies that we have for the future. And then we'll talk about a few ways that you can invest in real estate that we don't have personal experience in, but we know are available to you. And again, this is just to hopefully spark conversation, spark a Google search, a Bing search. Do people still use Bing? That's not a thing. Just TC.
What are those?
But hopefully you can do some further search and figure out which lane in real estate is your lane. If you're already investing in real estate and you're watching now, you're listening now, go ahead and drop in the comments how you're investing in real estate. Right? There's multiple ways, but go ahead and drop your own nuggets on how you have decided to invest. Queen.
Yes.
As our resident real estate expert. No? Okay. Well, as our resident real estate leader in the household.
There we go. I can own that.
That's you. Talk to people about the first easiest step in real estate / the step that we took to invest in real estate first.
Yeah. So the first thing we did is invest in like a single family home, which is one, we did owner occupied, which means that we basically just bought our first condo and we actually lived in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was something we did immediately after getting married. We actually had started the process during our whole, planning for the wedding. And then literally like a month after getting married, we were able to move into our first condo where we spent about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was lovely. But yeah, that was how we got started. And that's how I feel like most people get into real estate, which is I'm just going to buy my next home, right? You're tired of renting. You're tired of that money really not going towards anything. And you want to have that monthly payment actually work towards ownership. Right. And so that's, I think, a first easy way, quote unquote, easy way to get into the real estate game.
Boom. Right. So that way you're getting in. You are building equity in your home, right? So let's say you buy your house in 2023, you buy your house this year and it's worth $500,000. And then next year you go on Redfin, you go on Zillow, you go on the MLS, wherever you're searching. And that same house that you're currently living in is now worth $560,000, right? So you paid $500,000, you have a mortgage out for $500,000, but it's worth now $560,000. So you have $60,000 of equity, right? That's not necessarily cash in your pocket, but that is extra value that you could potentially tap into. And that's something that you have a benefit of. If you're living in the house, it's a single family home. Over time, over generations, you're going to begin to have that equity. And then when you pass that house on to your kids, to your grandkids, hopefully by then you have $1 million of equity. And that's where generational wealth is created and that freedom is created as well.
And I think the key here, I feel like you alluded to it, I don't know, without officially saying it, is that, oh, there it goes. See, look at you.
I got these thick thighs. Go ahead.
Is that we would recommend holding on to the property.
Yes.
So I know what a lot of folks get into is they buy a property and then when they're ready to move into the next property, they sell that property, the first property, to get money to buy the next one. That's not what we personally would recommend doing, because we really do like the aspect of buying and holding for as long as you can, really, to be able to, again, pass it on to future generations. Because the idea is with real estate, it's almost guaranteed to appreciate over a period of a generation, right? It may not, you can't really have that guarantee over a year or maybe even 5 years, but over 20 years, you can almost guarantee that it's going to appreciate. So that's guaranteed wealth that you're going to be able to pass down to your kids. Of course, you're not going to be able to do that if you sell the property. So that may, I feel like the reason I think a lot of folks do that is to get money for a down payment for the next property. What we would recommend is, get a side hustle, or just save up. You maybe spend a little bit more time in the home so that you can save up for a down payment and get another property without having to sell the other one. Or
talk about it.
You could even do what's called a HELOC, home equity line of credit. And that is basically when you have that equity built up. So you bought a house for 400, like you said, and now it's worth 550. You now have $150 in equity that you could tap into and basically utilize it as a line of credit. And you can take that money and use it as a down payment for your next property, as well as using a lot of programs that they have, depending on where you live, depending on different banks, different mortgage loans, different mortgage financiers have a lot of different programs to where you can find a no down payment or a really low down payment program. So those are all different ways to make sure that you can hold on to that first property, because we do recommend really building a portfolio to be able to pass down to that future generation.
100%. And as y'all know, we're the Melanated Married Millionaires in the making show. And we focus on, you see how she bullies me, y'all? Come on. And we focus on really helping Black families create that generational wealth, right? So our primary customer audience, our target audience is this Black family who you do have kids, whether future, like Jair is always in the background trying to get us right, talk about our future kids, future legacy, beautiful thing, or you already have kids. Either way, don't just think about your immediate time right now. Think about when they turn 30, when they turn 20, what can I give to them to have them have a leg up, right? How can I start having, we were having this conversation with Daniel and Megan yesterday, trust fund babies.
Yes.
Right. We are going to be the generation of parents, right, who are able to be proud of having first generation trust fund babies that are born into $1 million net worth, babies who know that they're going to get, whether it's life insurance, whether it's house assets, whether it's control of a company, they are going to be bestowed the legacy and the wealth that we work so hard for.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Queen.
One more benefit.
Talk to him.
One more benefit I think of having properties is
I'll gas you up. Talk to him.
Right.
Get him.
Is having different properties is that you can actually have a place for your kids to live. Right.
Yep.
Let's say you got a kid who's about to go to college or something. You happen to have a property in that town, hometown or whatever. Now they may have a place that they can stay while they're in school, or a place that they can come and move into after they graduate from school. Because we do know that that year after you graduate from school, you're trying to find that full-time job, those student loans kick in. That can be a very real year. A couple of years for a lot of folks, for most folks. So I think just putting a little less pressure on them by, hey, we have a house here that we planned for you. We planned for this. Here's a house that we're not going to give to you. And, again, maybe they can decide what they want to do with it. Yeah. Whether they rent it out or they live in it, at least they now have some options.
Right. So I want to real quick talk about still single family home, but now you're not living in it, right? If you're going to use that single family home as an investment property or house hack, what are some ways that you can have that home be an investment for you? What are some ways that you think people can make some cash flow and revenue from a single family home
that they're not living in?
Or maybe they're just living in one room, right? And I'll just go ahead and say the first one for sure is let's say you are in college, right? You're living in one room, but it's a 3-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom apartment. Now you get someone else to rent in the other rooms and help your rent go down, right? So your mortgage is still $2,000, but you have a 3-bedroom house. You get 2 of the roommates to pay $1,000 each. Now you, as the homeowner, are living free inside of your house while you're building the equity, right? So that's one. If you don't live in the house, Queen, what else can you do?
Yeah. So once you don't live in the house, it becomes like a non-owner occupied or an investment property at that point. And you could rent it out to another family. If you're in a college town, you could rent it out to students. Right. I think that has both of them have benefits, right? You get a nice family who plans to live there for long term. Now you don't have to worry about going out and find a tenant every year, right? You don't have to worry about that, especially if you find a good tenant. Yep. Same with students, right? If you get somebody early on in their college career, sophomore, then if they like the spot, if it works out for both parties, you can have them in for a solid 3, maybe 4 years.
Now I will say, based on my experience, you're gonna want to do, some quality checks
What experience,
on
Devon?
the house. Not that, when I was in college, we didn't necessarily disrespect the house that we lived in, but we had a lot of fun in that house and a lot of memories in that house. And you can see the memories. I'll just
That
say that.
house was worn down,
That house was
Devon.
worn down. But we were there. We paid rent on time every single month for 2 years, 3 years.
I think 3.
And they didn't have to worry about it. We paid rent on time. Now, did the floors need to get redone when we left? Yes.
Some cabinets need to be
Did
replaced.
some cabinets need to get replaced? Yes. Did a toilet break a few times? Yes.
No, a
But
few times, y'all.
for 3 years, that owner didn't need to worry about mortgage at all. And their equity for sure went up because I checked the prices because I wanted to buy that house, but my dad was against it. Father, you already know what it is. So yeah, I would say rent it out to college students, but periodically, maybe like once a year before you renew the lease, go in there, inspect, make sure everything's copacetic, everything's good, and then go ahead and renew it with them.
Lastly, another thing you can do is short-term rentals. So Airbnb, right? Especially if you live in a
got
place.
collective consciousness in the building. What's going on, y'all?
What's going on? What's going on? If you live in a place where you know it's going to be a popular destination for tourists to come in, Airbnb, VRBO, like all those different platforms where people are looking to stay for a weekend, a week, 2 weeks, or sometimes even a month, right? Those can be also good options. You typically can get a little more per night. However, it's a little bit more work as well to again find people to rent it out all of those days of the month. So again, all of these have their pros and cons. Definitely depend on what type of property you have to figure out the best investment strategy.
Oh yeah. There's so much we can go into. Again, this is just an intro, right? And every step that we talk about today, there's so many different things that we can do. Encourage y'all to continue to do your own research, enroll in some people's courses, watch some videos online, check out some other episodes that we have. I know the Queen did a fabulous episode going to the 9 steps to buy your first property, where she broke down your down payment, how to search for things, looking for a real estate agent, all that stuff. So definitely, again, just step one. We got some comments, Queen, that you can read with your amazing eyes.
Yes, our folks over at Collective Consciousness just saying, what's up? We love y'all dropping some great game.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
we
you.
do. Thank you for the love, y'all.
Of course. And if y'all are investing in real estate or looking to invest in real estate, Collective Consciousness, go ahead and drop, your own strategy, your own lane. But let's move on to still possibly owner occupied, right? But the lane of owner occupied that I don't think a lot of students know, and maybe people in general, when we talk about the 2 to 4 units. Can you break down investing in multifamily properties?
Yeah. So the multifamily is either a duplex, so you either got 2 units, 3 units, or 4 units. Those all fall under the category of multifamily. Once you get past that, it's considered commercial. But 2 units to 4 units is considered multifamily. And what
Residential
residential multifamily, thank you. And what a lot of house hackers do, a lot of real estate investors do to get started is they will invest in a multifamily. They will live in one of the units and then they will rent out the others. And so the rent from the other units now kind of subsidizes your mortgage payment. And ideally, in a real ideal world, you're making money off of that, right? The next, I think, best situation is that your mortgage is at least covered, right? You're at least getting enough rent to cover the mortgage. So you're technically living rent-free and mortgage-free. Of course, depending on the market, it may just be also discounted heavily. Right. So, right, that rent is going towards your mortgage. So rather than paying, a couple $1,000s in mortgage, maybe you pay a couple hundred. So those are all kind of the best case scenarios that you would find yourself in if you were going to do like a house hack like that. And really, if you were to do that with like an FHA loan, you can get a larger property for only 3% down. So even though it's a $700,000 property for us in California, that's pretty average for like a multifamily. You'd only have to pay the 3% down. And if you're doing owner occupied, after you live there for a year, you can get up. You can refinance, or you can just, again, use that discounted rent or non-mortgage payment to save up so that you can now buy another property and basically do the same thing. That's how a lot of folks end up building their portfolio out.
Oh, yeah. So breaking that down just one more time, right? Because we want to make sure it's practical for y'all. You have a I'm gonna use $500,000 because it's an easier number to break down, right? So you have $500,000. 3% of $500,000 is, I believe, $15,000, right? So if you can find a duplex, triplex, or quadplex for $500,000, all you would need is about 15,000 to maybe 20,000, right? Closing costs. You want to buy some furniture going in, right? So let's say 20,000 even, in order to now own that multifamily property. Now it's yours, and the key here is the cash flow that you're getting. Instead of having to pay the 400,000 or the 4,000 to $5,000 every single month in mortgage out of your pocket, you have the renters that are giving you rent. My math right? $21,000. Beautiful. Thank you, Queen. You now have the renters are able to.
Oh wait, you said 500,000.
I did.
Oh, then you're probably right. I went back to 700,000.
Look at you.
My bad. Let's do this. You were right. 15. Correct.
Thank you. Mathematician. You know what I'm saying? Calculus, math B. Is that, are math B's a thing?
That's a good question.
It's a spelling bee.
It's called something. Mathletes.
Mathathon.
Something.
Do y'all know what it's?
Mathletes is for sure a thing.
Mathletes is a thing.
Yeah.
All right. If it's not a spelling bee, but it's for math. Mathathon. Y'all let us know what it is. I'm thinking hackathon in my head.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, cash flow is the name of the game here. All right. I'm gonna tell y'all, and Dad, I love you.
It's mathletes. Thank you,
mathletes. Let's go. I knew it. All right. So Dad, love you, but we had the opportunity in Davis to buy a fourplex. Each unit was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2 stories, and when I wanted to buy it, it was $630,000.
Right? And it's literally like down the street from the campus.
It's literally down the street from Davis. It's literally 4 separate townhomes, and rent was like $2,000 per townhome, right? So the cash flow would have been $8,000 per month. The mortgage was probably around $5,000 to $6,000. I was like, Dad, we should buy this. I'm gonna live in one. We'll rent out the other ones. I got my college friends here. We pay rent. Let's go. Let's invest. And he was like, no. I don't trust it. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know if y'all gonna pay rent on time. That's too far away. I don't want to do it. That same property today is worth $1.3 million. So we would have had not only the $700,000 in equity from just 7 years, $700,000 in equity. We would have had the cash flow of at least $2,000 per month over 7 years. $2,000 a month times 12 months, that's $24,000 times 7 years. That's $158,000 in cash that we could have made, plus the equity, right?
Plus the rent increase.
Right? So we're trying to teach y'all from our experiences, from our wins, our dubs, but also some of the things that we missed out on, right? If I can go back in time, if my dad can go back in time and say yes to the opportunity, I guarantee he would. Right. So if you have a college student going out, or if you live in a college town and there's a fourplex available, there's a triplex, a duplex available, whatever you can, put aside, invest in that property, because real estate is going to go up. And like the Queen said, rent is going to go up.
And you may be wondering, like, how would a college student have even afforded such thing? Getting creative, one, with like refund checks. Right. That was something that almost all of us got, those refund checks. And, some folks spent it irresponsibly.
For sure. For sure.
If you would have saved up those thousands of dollars you got in your refund checks every quarter, you would have had a down payment. I promise you.
100%. And then also, again, I was planning on buying it with my dad.
Yeah.
So we could have went in on the loan together. He could have brought 20,000. I could have brought 10,000, and then we bought the house. Right. So you don't always have to come up with the money yourself. Family can gift you money. Like the Queen said, you can save up money. There's grants that you can apply to. Use your refund check, which helps pay your rent, right? So you're using it what you're supposed to use it for, right? If you use your refund check to buy a house instead of paying rent, that's still in alignment with what you were supposed to pay.
We do have a question
yes,
on there.
Please.
Would you suggest, thank you, Jair, would you suggest your first property to be a rental, Airbnb property? What is the most first time friendly? That's a good question. We don't have currently experience in the short-term rental game, so I will preface that we are coming from our personal experience, which is with long-term rentals. And I think that is an easier route to go if you plan to manage the property. And so that's because most of the work is done in the front end and on the back end of the year-long lease, let's say. You have to do the work of obviously getting the property ready, so making all of the repairs. So for us, again, we were living in it and then we moved out, so getting all of the little things that you let slide if you're living there, right?
We don't need all the lights.
Do we need all 4 light bulbs?
Right.
So you need to fix those things for a new tenant if someone's paying you for the unit. Fresh coat of paint, getting it cleaned, all those types of things that you should get it move-in ready for a new tenant. Think about like what would you expect if you were moving into a new unit. So that's like the upfront legwork. And then, hopefully if you've got a good tenant there, they're taking care of it throughout the year. You do want to, like he said, do an inspection at least once a year. And then if something breaks down, you may have to call a plumber or things like that. But outside of that, there's not too much work that's done during the life of the lease. Whereas at the end of the lease, then you now have to work on, a move out date, coordinating a move out date, coordinating, getting all of the repairs that are now done for someone else that has been living in the unit. How much repair work is going to be completely dependent on how good the tenant took care of the property and what they were. You want them to be upfront and very what's the word I'm looking for? Time sensitive to repairs and things like that, so you can get to it before it gets worse. Proactive, thank you, about things that need to be repaired. You don't want to have to find out about a whole bunch of stuff at the end,
which we did.
We absolutely did. And so that definitely prolongs the amount of time to have the repairs done before you can have the next tenant moved in. First piece of game, give at least a month between when your lease ends and the next lease would start so that you have time to do those repairs. But long story short, most of the work is done before and after they move in. So I think that's a little bit more manageable if you, again, plan to do the managing of the unit. If you plan to hire someone to do that, then it really probably doesn't matter as much which one you do because you're not doing that work. So with the Airbnbs, my brief research shows that you may be able to get more per night. But again, you do need to make sure that your property is in an area that will rent for the amount of nights you need. So for example, if you say like, okay, in this town, I can rent it for $100 a night. How many nights do you need to have of a 30-day month rented out in order to cover your mortgage?
Yeah. And that's why, as of right now, I prefer the long term because I think the competition to get a long-term tenant is less than the competition for the short term.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nice houses, condos, apartments. There's people that got themes, like all types of stuff that are renting their Airbnbs. Whereas like people are just looking for a nice home for a year. You're probably looking good. So I don't know how much like backup or nest egg cast that you have, but I feel like for Airbnb, you may go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe an entire month where no one rents it. You may go several months in a row where you only get, a weekend person in there. And how long can you afford to do that without, a marketing strategy, without creating a theme for your Airbnb? So for us at the moment, we're going with long term. Maybe once we get different types of real estate properties that will do better in an Airbnb, or once for our other property like the Lakers or the Lakers? The Rams. I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming. Once the Rams practice stadium comes and there's more tourism in the area, then maybe our spot would be a better Airbnb. But for now, I think the long-term rentals is just less stress. You get them in, you're good. Something breaks, you call. But other than that, you're just collecting your check every month.
And there is kind of a shift happening right now in the real estate world where a lot of folks who were focusing on the short-term rentals are starting to see that decline in those short-term rental numbers. So that's one thing to keep in mind too. There is kind of a housing shortage going on right now because I think there was such a boom of the short-term rentals. So everybody was only offering everybody who had an investment property was mainly offering short-term rentals, and that was leaving less real estate open for long-term rentals. So I think that's shifting right now where, again, a lot of folks are now looking for the long term. The demand is a little bit, I think, catering more towards the long-term rentals. So, and also I think, the good thing about is, if you have an investment property, you can kind of change your strategy year to year, right? Depending on, that's why we do like year leases on our properties so that you can decide what you want to do for the next year. But that is another thing to keep in mind. And to your point, to really stay competitive, you need to have something about your unit that is going to make it stand out. So it's jungle themed, or it's got a hot tub, or it's something really cool about it in order for it to stand out on Airbnb with as many units as there are, and especially like metropolitan areas.
For the record, Sinclair, I'm not staying at a jungle theme Airbnb.
Come on, that'd be cool. The little
if it's
swing,
Lion King,
you can swing into the front door.
Oh no, not the Tarzan call. Oh goodness. Oh man. But great questions. We appreciate y'all. You got more questions or wisdom, feel free to drop it in the comments. But let's leave residential.
Okay.
Right. So we have single family home, we have multifamily residential. Those are both things that you can get with your FHA, Federal Housing Authority backed loan. Now, let's say you already have your own house, or you got a group of people and y'all about to get together and y'all about to buy the next level. You really want to turn up in these real estate streets. You really want to pop your collar in these real estates. I don't have a collar either, to be honest with you.
It's like a mini collar. It's a
mini collar. All right. Well, what's the next level of, hey, if y'all type in the M4 show, y'all know we're corny. This is us. This is right here every Sunday. What's the next level of investment, Queen?
Yeah. So we talked about multifamily, which is anything from a 2-unit to a 4-unit. Once you graduate from the 4 units, once you go 5 and above, you're getting into the commercial real estate game. Mm-hmm. So again, this is 5 units to 6 units to the big old skyscraper buildings you see that are all condos. Those are all considered commercial real estate.
And what's also commercial real estate are the strip malls that you see. The strip malls, the schools, the basketball recreation centers, all those are also commercial real estate plays.
Yeah. So some things to keep in mind about that: you typically do not have access to like lower down payment programs or anything like that. For those, typically the minimum you are going to need to pay is 20%. So that's why it's not necessarily recommended to dive into commercial real estate for your first property. It's kind of a different ball game. I would say get your feet wet with one of the other options first, and then you just see how you need to pivot your strategy for the commercial. So again, typically at least 20% down. Sometimes, depending on the market, especially depending on the your credit score, your income, all of that, they may even want 30 if it's your first property. I know. I just want to say that out there in case you go and like, they said 20%. 20 to 30 is typically what you need for an investment property. Now, the thing with with a commercial unit. Now, the thing with the commercial unit is with more units, you have more cash flow. And so that's obviously nice, because if you have an 8-unit, right, with a 2-unit, if you have 1 unit that's not rented out, you're gonna be hurting a little bit. You're gonna be hurting that, because that mortgage, you only have half of the mortgage covered basically, and you're gonna be responsible for covering the other half. Whereas if you have an 8-unit, if you have one of those units that's not occupied, that's not gonna hurt you as much. You likely will have the mortgage still covered with. Ideally, what you'd want to do is like, okay, if I only had like half of these covered, how can I make the rent so that if I have 50% occupancy, which means if I have 4 of the 8 units covered, I can cover the mortgage. Yeah. So that way you're pretty much always okay.
So I want to do a slight pivot there. Now you're getting into like business model talk, right? Which, no, this is good. This is good, because I think sometimes people go into real estate without having a specific business model in mind. How am I going to cover my mortgage every single month? Yeah. And when you apply, especially for a commercial real estate loan, they're looking at your business model. Right, they're looking at the number of units. They're looking at what is the rent in the market, and does that match up with what you plan to charge? If you are hiring or trying to invest in a strip mall, they're looking at, okay, well, what do you plan to do with the strip mall? Is it your business? Are you renting out to the different businesses? Is it a podcast studio? Is it a hair salon? What is the business model for how you're going to pay our loan back?
Right.
Every single month, right? Whereas if you're getting your single family home, or even the 2 to 4 unit, there's no business model. It's you're living in it. It's owner occupied. As long as you can have the W-2 and you have the income to cover it, they're not worried about it. But now when you're buying $1 million property, $2 million property, a $5 million property, a $30 million, come on, I see there's some moguls on here, right? A $30 million property. They're now like, okay, what are you going to do? And how are you going to pay us back every single month?
Yeah. And another It'll be great to get into the $1 million properties. We on our way.
Yes, we are.
But if you even think about, like, we're in California, so yeah, any type of commercial real estate property is in the millions. You're dreaming. But outside of California and a lot of other places, you can find multifamily, or you can find commercial units for $600,000, $700,000, and it's a 8 to 12 unit property, right? Crazy for us here in California to think about that. But another play for folks who are here and want to get into the cash flow game is possibly, again, building that nest egg that you can use for a down payment, and get that cash flow, $5,000 a month in coming from these properties, right? And another thing to keep in mind too is that, and I'm not going to go, this is a whole nother podcast episode and topic, but just planting the seed here is that you could also go the route of working with, like, the government, or working with something that has a guaranteed, basically, rental assistance program. So things like Section 8, things like student housing, things like, even employers offer housing. There's a lot of different
transition homes for folks that are coming out of the system. There's starting foster homes or group homes for folks. There's all types of things that you can do with real estate. Yeah.
So keep that in mind too. It doesn't always have to be like you out searching for tenants, right? There are different models that you can have for even some of the units, if not all of the units. So all going into the business model aspect that he was talking about.
Last thing before we talk about REITs and maybe some digital ways of getting into real estate. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Right.
I think some people, and maybe just the way that we grew up, we think like, oh, if I'm gonna start a business, it's gonna be me. If I'm gonna invest in real estate, it's gonna be me. I'm not gonna do business with anybody else. You can start a multi-member LLC where you have other families. Everyone puts in 10,000. Everyone puts in 50,000. Everyone puts in 100,000. Whatever you're able to do, you put those monies together, and y'all go buy a building together, right? So maybe you can afford to get a duplex with $50,000 by yourself, but you have 5 other people that can do the same thing. That's now $250,000 you can put down on a 10 unit, on a 12 unit, one building, one property manager, one check coming in, and then y'all split the pie up, right? So think about, who do I trust? Who do I want to do business with? Who do I want to build wealth with within my community? And how can I bring these people together and start a business and invest all together?
Yeah, I would argue probably most real estate investors are not doing investments by themselves. Especially, one of the resources that I use to get my information is the Bigger Pockets podcast. They are not a sponsor, but we're open to it. We're open to it. You know what I'm saying?
Talk to us. Call at me. 951-223.
Stop. But and they talk about, basically all of the investors, they talk about how they have teams. They have investors, like they have investor teams, they have investor groups of the people that they invest with. So yeah, you don't have to do it alone. I feel like a lot of us think we have to. You do not. Most people are putting their money together, because it goes a lot further when you do it that way.
Big facts. So if there's any questions so far, feel free to put it inside the chat. We're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about other ways that you can pull money together, fractional shares, in order to invest in digital assets or real assets. We'll be right back. Look, we're going to get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA. We wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game, right here. We had the first edition available in 2017. That got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode. All right, getting right back into it. And, collective consciousness, we know y'all, right? We know it's Ray. We know it's Sahai. We didn't know which one of y'all was logged in.
Well, you can see it's both of y'all, as it should be.
A lot of love. We appreciate it. I know I'll be on stuff as play Black Wall Street as the M4 show solo. She'd be on the M4 show solo. It's like, hi, Devon. No,
It's me.
It's Sinclair. But again, if y'all have any questions or if you want to tell us how you are currently investing in real estate, go ahead and drop it inside of the live chat or comments, and we'll go ahead and get that answered. Queen,
Yes.
talk to us about REITs.
Okay. Definitely not my area of expertise, but REITs is basically a real estate investment trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is when, if you did not personally want to go and invest in a property, you can still get in the investment game or in the real estate game. And that's basically by inputting your money towards a REIT. And these are basically companies who are going out and doing the work of investing in the properties, and you have a share of this company. And so you now get those dividends every time they get money, they get profit from one of these properties. You now get a portion of that income.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a more passive way to invest in the real estate game.
Oh, and I would say if you're familiar with the stock market, REITs to me are very similar to investing in like a mutual fund, right? Every month you put $100, $5, $1,000. It's up to you, and you're putting inside this portfolio, and then this portfolio goes out and they buy assets. And based on the profit that the entire portfolio is having, they then give their investors those dividends. So again, it's a great way to just passively invest $100, $200 just to get a taste of the game, start getting a little bit of those dividends. And then over years, over time, you can then take this profit and then you can go buy a real property for you. Okay. Something that runs parallel to REIT is crowdfunding, right? And there's a lot of different platforms that do this. None of them are sponsors here, but definitely go ahead and check them out. One is Fundrise. Another one is Buy the Block or Buy Back the Block. If you're trying to, invest in the Black-owned communities or in the Black communities and help revitalize Chicago, New Orleans, LA, Oakland, parts of Sacramento, you can go to buybacktheblock.com and you can start investing in direct specific projects. All right. So you're not investing in an entire REIT or entire trust, but you're saying, I see this portfolio. And Devon and Sinclair, they're trying to build something in Moreno Valley. They got this land. They put together their pitch and they say they're going to build 12 4 units and it's going to cash flow $12,000 a year. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. You'll get this percent back. You invest specifically in that product and then you get your return based on profits. Okay. And on Buy Back the Block, you can also put up your own properties, right? So let's say you have a vision, and we're going to talk about land in a second, but you have a property that you're trying to buy, but you don't have the down payment for it, or you don't have the renovating costs for it. Sometimes you can put it on these crowdfunding sources, get income, get investors from other people, and then now you can go out and buy that property and renovate that property. All right. So again, if you're not at a stage right now where you have the $10,000, $30,000 in cash, but you still want to put me in the game, coach, I'm ready. These are two ways that you can kind of get in the real estate game. You can start flexing your chest a little bit to say, I'm a real estate investor. I'm in the real estate game on a passive level, and then eventually work your way up to getting those bricks in real homes.
And I would argue that it is probably better if you are, again, wanting to work up towards being able to get a physical property. It is probably better to put your money into something like this rather than just having it sit in the bank. Because if it's just sitting in the bank, it's only going to depreciate. Whereas if you put it into a REIT or towards a property that, again, maybe you're not physically going to own, but you have a piece of it, you are likely going to be able to multiply some of that money so that rather than putting 500 in the bank and then it's only 500 when you pull it out in 5 years, you can put 500 into one of these options and now you have maybe 3,000 at the end of 5 years.
And it forces you to, at least for me, learn. Yeah. If my money is in a REIT in real estate, I'm gonna be looking what's happening with the real estate market.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What are dividends? What is cash flow? What are the rental agreements right now? Like I want to be up to date so I know my 500 will turn into something. Like when our money was in cryptocurrency, I was in the cryptocurrency world. Ever since we pulled our money out of crypto, I'm like, I'm not tripping about what's happening. I'm not impacted anymore. But when our money was heavily invested, it motivated me to be more inside the game. Now that we're in real estate, it motivates you to be more inside the game of what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in LA. Every time we see some news, you're like, hey, equity's going up. This is what's happening because our money's there. So if you put your money where Hey man, shout out to the songs that I make that never see the light of day. They just be in our car. But put your money where you want your focus to go. Right. So if you put your money into real estate because you know eventually you want to invest in real estate, it's going to force you to do your homework and be connected and focused on what's happening in the market. We'll listen to that song later now, Sinclair.
Yes.
We're definitely going to listen to that song. All right. Up next, I want to talk about land development, right? Again, any questions, put them in, comments, put them in. Land development.
I know this is one of your favorites.
This is my favorite. Why is it my favorite, Sinclair?
I feel like because you like you're a dreamer, you're a visionary. So I feel like you like the aspect that you start with dirt.
It's a blank canvas.
Yes, and you build up a beautiful whatever.
Oh, it's so fun. Can't tell you how many cities and different communities I've like just designed and drawn out. I'm a terrible drawer, by the way. They don't look good at all. Most of them are 2D, but it's just really cool to say this is my plot of 1 acre, 2 acres, 40 acres, like Tulsa Black Wall Street started off as, and I can put whatever I want on this land. So that is another form of real estate investing. It's a whole nother beast, whole nother animal. We've not dived into this dream of real estate yet, but there's a lot of stages. First stage is securing the actual land. And for most, at least the things that I've been researching, it's going to be very difficult to finance land. So this is, you're paying, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million cash to secure that land, or you go out, you get a hard money loan in order to secure that land. There are some loans that do bundles, but most of them do bundles just on construction in the house, not land in the house, right? So first step, getting that land. Next step is probably, you can do this before or after you get to land, is surveying the land and figuring out, okay, where are the water connections to the city? Where are the electric connections to the city? Are they even there? Or do I need to call the city to come out and put sewer pipage and put electricity out, which is going to just put your prices to the roof? Is there septic tanks? Is the soil in a good place where you can build on, right? There's so many things that you want to do before you buy the plot of land. And there's been tons of times Sinclair has stopped me from buying land. It's like, did you even look at the survey? Are you sure? Let's go to the property and look at it before we buy it. I'm like, but it's on sale. It's an auction for $10,000. Let's do it.
This man tried to buy a cliff. I promise you, this man tried to buy a cliff. I'm not even joking.
That's a fact. So yeah, online it said, I was like 5 acres. It was 40 acres. That's why I was like, oh, this is our 40 acres and a mule, Sinclair. This is it. God sent us this land. No, false. It was a devil. So 40 acres, right? And it was saying it was a nice, beautiful acreage, nice views. There was a house, I think, on the property. It was being sold by a Black family, and all that stuff. So everything was sounding real good. We drove to the location.
Remember, we had gone to like 2 other locations that we thought it was at. The directions on where it was not clear. So we went to like one property. We spent like 30 minutes there.
This is beautiful.
This is
it. Look, we can build this there. We can build that there. We can have a river go here. It was dreaming. And then we called the real estate agent on the listing. We were like, this is where we are. Here are the pictures. Is this the right location? They're like, oh no, that's not it. It's down the street. Go here. So then we went there, and it was literally just a side of a mountain, maybe like 0.5 acres of flat land. Yeah. Everything else was literally mountain hill, very, I wouldn't say unbuildable, but very expensive to build on a hillside. So again, you want to make sure that you are checking the land and it is buildable land before you go out and you buy something on auction.com or you buy something on one of these other government auction sites. After you do that, then there's the construction phase, right? So this is where you're buying the materials, the bricks, the wood, the container homes, doing all these things. So what am I actually going to build the house out of? That you can get financed, right? Then after that, you're probably going to do some type of refinancing to get your money back out, get your money back or your investment back from it. And then if it's your dream house that you're building, you're going to live in it and live your dream. Congratulations. Well done. If it's a property where you're, renting out homes or you're renting out apartment buildings, Maybe it's a school. Now you got to get into the marketing of getting people to come to the land. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, Sinclair, buying a piece of land and just building our vision, our dream on that land.
Yes, me too, King. Me too.
In due time. I know
Yes.
it's coming next.
Well, one thing I did want to say is that the development piece is not mandatory if you wanted to still get a return on land.
Talk about it.
So if you are up and coming, places are only up and coming once people start moving there. But if you're able to get, like, if you kind of have an inkling, right? If you start looking at like, okay, this is going to move in this area, this is going to come here, right? Again, like by one of our condos, or one of our condos, by our condo.
Well, we got more condos I don't know about, Sinclair. Talk to me.
One of my secret condo. No. By our first condo, they've announced that the new Rams headquarters is going to go there. And I think they're putting a practice field. We had an inkling that they were going to be building up this area because we started researching the area and seeing what was going on. So that's part of why we invested in the area. We didn't know the Rams were coming. This is just a blessing. But if you do the research, you can invest and buy land in places where like, okay, those people that are coming in and buying property, they're buying it from somebody. Right? They're the people that are coming in and building big old skyscrapers, they're buying the land from somebody. So again, if you can kind of future proof, if they're building up in one area, the surrounding areas are also probably going to be coming soon. So kind of get in on the early side. You can buy a plot of land for $10,000. And although, there may not be any financing, $10,000 is also relatively affordable if you can save up the money or take the money out from somewhere else. And then you can buy it and now own outright a piece of land, and you just sit on it. It's just a waiting game at that point. There's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot you can do to just land, except for, like he said, like getting the water lines and sewage lines or whatever.
I got some ideas for you though.
Okay, for sure.
Got some ideas for you.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
For sure. Or again, you can just sit on it and let the area start appreciating. So that, again, once a big old developer is ready to come in and put a 24-unit apartment complex and you happen to have a plot of land, they can now buy it from you for who knows how much. A lot, I'm assuming.
a lot.
They got a lot of money.
Double up on them.
Right, at least. But yeah, sit on it. That type of investment is like a buy and hold. You buy the land and you just sit on it until it appreciates enough to where you can sell it and make a profit. So that's another way to go about it. Chris Colbert talked about that when he was on.
This is his brand too, Rich Before 50. Shout out.
Talked about that play. I don't remember what episode that was. I'll try to look it up.
We were in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll try to look it up right now and let you know the episode so you can go back and get some of that game that he was spitting.
Sounds good. So other things that you can do with empty plots of land, right? And this can be for stuff if you're near a city. This can be stuff if you're outside the city. But campgrounds, right? You buy a plot of land and you develop it just enough for it to be a campground. Put the porta potties in there. Put the parking lots in there. You don't need to put cabins or anything because you're going to use it for let people put up their tents. So campgrounds. Another one can be just events, right? Coachella is literally in the middle of nowhere.
Most of those
Burning Man, middle of nowhere. But somebody owns that land and somebody's making hand over foot every single year.
2 weeks.
For 2 weeks of foolishness, right? But if you're able to own this acre of land, 2 acres of land, 40 acres of land, you can now market your space as an event space, or you can host your own event there and have people use your land. Gun ranges is another one that people use land for. There's tons of things that you can do with that land. Archery, obstacle courses, just be creative, right? If you can get a piece of land, think about what can I now do with this? We just saw on Instagram, someone had an inflatable huge tent and they were using it as like a club, right? So you get an inflatable tent that's maybe 100 feet by 50 feet. Now you can host a wedding in that tent, birthday parties in that tent, quinceañeras in that tent, quinceañeras for the Black community inside that tent. We still need to come up with a word for that.
I ain't got it.
You ain't got it for me. Mm-hmm. All right, we go Google it. collective consciousness, maybe y'all got it for us. What happens when a black man, black woman turns 15, turns 16? How do we celebrate that? What do we call that celebration? But yeah, I think there's tons of things that you can do with empty land besides developing your dream house, besides developing apartments, malls, schools. There's smaller scale things that you can do to still get cash flow. Sinclair's finding this episode. I'm not gonna steal your thunder, Sinclair. Go ahead. It just said the episode on the screen.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Awkward.
Oh, Queen. Oh, Queen.
128.
There you go.
128. We talk about business credit, and then they also break down kind of their play on buying land and investing in it that way. So episode 128, go tap in.
Boom. All right. So you can search for that on YouTube, or you can go to the m4show.com, search for 128. You'll be able to see the video version there as well as the audio version. Thank you, Sinclair, for sending me that signal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to take a short commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll go to any questions that y'all have. If y'all don't have questions, then we will enter into our Ask Declare segment. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the episode in a second, but breathe. If you've ever had a brilliant idea, I'm pretty sure everybody just took a breath right there, right? Because we all have amazing ideas, but I got a question for you. What's stopping you from taking that idea and actually making it into a business, actually executing on your brilliance? My name is Devon Truvel, and in 2018, I was able to create, market, and sell my own product while still working a 9-to-5. And through the years, I've taken the lessons we've learned, the expensive webinars that I've gone to, and the dozens of business books that I've read, and I've discovered 7 simple steps to launch your business. If you're ready to take your business idea to the next level and make it real and start making profit from your passion, head to www.launchitcommunity.com and grab yourself the book. We've been able to make it very simple, affordable, and easier than ever to start that business while still working your 9-to-5. And we take entrepreneurs every single Friday and we talk to them. We teach them about how to use social media. We teach them about how to set up their Instagram account, how to use Shopify, how to use Printful, and other tools that can help you take your business to the next level, but not take tons of time away from your 9-to-5 and your busy life that you already have. So if you're ready to take that idea to the next level, make sure you head to www.launchitcommunity.com, get yourself a book, and join our free accountability calls. Now, let's get back to the episode. All right. So, Queen, I believe you've been percolating on a question. I think it's right there in your frontal lobe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Or your pineal gland. Yeah, right there. Go ahead. Hit me.
What? So you mentioned how land was like your favorite real estate investing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
What are you most excited about in terms of like getting a piece of land? What are you most excited to build in the future?
It has to be one piece because the full vision of what I want to build is very holistic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know, just like out of the holistic vision of everything that I want to build on this plot of land, what's the segment that I'm most excited about?
It can be however you want to answer it. I don't know how much of the vision you want to share. If you want to share the whole high level vision, or if you want to get into a specific part, whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, high level vision. I mean, y'all know that I'm very passionate about Tulsa Black Wall Street. Was very inspired by that history and going to Black Wall Street and like literally walking the streets that those entrepreneurs walk, literally being able to touch the bricks that have been there for over 100 years. Like, it was just craziness, right? So I would love at some capacity to be able to build a version of Black Wall Street, right? Our motto for Play Black Wall Street is we will rebuild. And it's not we will rebuild in one particular place. It's we will rebuild, period. So if I can be a part of, in California, building a version of Black Wall Street, building a community that has a school, that has some healthcare stuff, that has a hotel, has some things for not just tourists to come in and enjoy, but also people who live here on a day-to-day can build and enjoy the community. Out of that vision, out of the entire vision, and again, I have a lot of drawings there. I do. It's fun. Out of the vision, I think I'm most excited about building a school, because I see the school being the foundation, the backbone of the community. We know that if you have a good school in the community, the real estate prices or the value, the equity of the homes go up. The neighborhood is safer. So we can build a state-of-the-art, futuristic Black school, whether it's for high school, whether it's a community college, whether it's a institute. I think that's a good foundation to build all the other things that I want to be in this community. So that's what I'm looking forward to, Queen.
Me too, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are you looking forward to in our plot of land that we are inevitably going to get? Because the way that we manifest,
it's crazy, y'all.
The way that we manifest has been ridiculous. Like, the accuracy is a blessing, and
a curse.
It's a blessing and a curse, to be honest with you. Yeah, we need to stop asking for stuff when we're not ready for it. But this land is coming, not this year, but it is coming in the very near future when we are mentally, financially, and emotionally prepared for it. It will come to us. What are you most excited to develop on that plot of land?
For the community, a health center.
For yourself, your dream house.
Absolutely. I toyed on which way to go with that.
Let's be real. Just go with the real answer, Sinclair. Just let's go with the real answer. All right. She loves y'all, but I need that dream house.
I am very much looking forward to like building a custom dream house of like, we built this. We not physically, but we.
I can't. Well, I mean, I can. I can build a fence.
Fence. I'm done.
Can you build a fence? You'll be literally my fence building activities. Hold up now. All right.
My bad.
I built a fence when I was like 14 years old. It was a beautiful fence. That fence at my mom's house.
You built that?
Did that.
That's what's up.
There used to be a playground back there too. Did that. You know what I'm saying? They knocked it down. Or it fell down. I don't know. I was gone.
But yeah, the dream house. Really excited to again just like really be super intentional. Not that there's anything wrong with moving into a house already built, but I just feel like it's another level of pride that you have to walk into something that like you designed and you built specifically for
your mind.
Yeah.
To the real world is just that feeling is beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that. And then, yeah, also like in the city, if you will, that we're also trying to build the Black Wall Street community. Super excited for like a holistic health center, someplace where you can come and get, health coaching, someplace where you can come and see a naturopathic doctor, someplace where you can come and get herbs and spices and fresh vegetables and juices and
all that.
Someplace where you can come and get a good workout in, get a sweat in, come and meditate, come and just be around folks all focused on their wellness. I'd really want that to be built into the fabric of this community. We've talked about like having very walkable spaces, right? We want there to be farmers markets. Like we want it to be a community that is about wellness.
100%. Don't y'all just feel healthier listening to that? Words are powerful. I just felt calmer and healthier when she was talking.
Come on.
It's also raining outside, which is very calming. You don't hear that?
Not anymore. I heard it before.
Oh, yeah. So maybe it's your computer. What does that sound?
Oh no, I do hear something now. Okay.
There we go. See, I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy.
Shout out to Malik.
So those are and we definitely did more than 6, but those are the different ways that you can get into real estate, y'all. All right. So we talked about single family homes. We talked about residential multifamily homes.
Talked about commercial real estate. We talked about REITs. Real estate investment trusts. We talked about crowdfunding, and we talked about land.
Boom. All right. So definitely make sure you rewatch this, take some nuggets, take some notes, and then figure out which is going to be your lane of focus for this year, right? With the resources that you have available, with the knowledge you have available, with the risk that you have available, right? We know different people have different levels of risk or risk tolerance that they're able to do. What can you do this year to get started in the real estate game? Before we go to any updates or anything like that, Queen, are there any questions or comments that we need to highlight?
I don't believe so. Looks like we were all caught up on the comments. I did just want to comment on your note on like the risk there, right? With any investment, there are risks. And so I would say before you do dive into the real estate game, I would say just the money you're setting aside for that, make sure it's money you are not going to need. Because again, over a long period of time, 20 years, 50 years, you can almost guarantee appreciation, but you can't do that in the short term. You don't know what the market's going to do. You don't know, you don't have too much control over that. So I would say invest money that you are okay losing. Not that we want to manifest wealth and abundance.
Facts.
However, just make sure that you are not investing money that you will need for something really important later on. Because you just don't want to find yourself in a bind later on if something happens out of your control.
Great point, Queen. Great point. All right, getting into some updates. I did want to just give a huge shout out and love and appreciation to everyone that we engaged with yesterday at the Black Cards Expo. We had an amazing time there. And again, it shows the importance of going to events where your target audience is going to be, right? So for us, we're dealing a lot with Black homeschooling families or Black families that want to teach their parents or teach their kids, maybe their parents too. It can go both ways. Everybody's learning financial literacy and the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. And then another real key audience for us is educators. And at this College Expo, we got a lot of love from the families and from the educators. So yeah, just huge shout out to everyone we engaged with. Shout out to all the scholars that wrote down their dreams and aspirations here. These are only a few, right? This is half. We had a whole nother board with more ideas, more brilliance. We encourage everyone that wrote down something to actually at some point in their life do this business, right? Whether it was the barbershop, the restaurant, the nursing school, the engineering, the love skincare, the singing group, come on, the Great Shades, performing arts school, dance studio, mental health, clothing, food truck. There's so many brilliant ideas that y'all shared with us, and we hope that in some part of your life you're able to really chase and achieve your dream. Okay. Any other updates for Play Black Wall Street you want to give before I give a secondary Play Black Wall Street update?
I do just want to give a shout out to Malika Young. Hey, beautiful people. Hello to you. Hey. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us. I want to just let folks know about our mentorship program. So this is the Leaders Innovating Tomorrow, or LIT. Another group of people we had coming up to the table yesterday was LIT scholars. And so these are the scholars at the schools that we have this program, and they're in the program. They're actively going through the program. They're preparing to present their business pitches in a few weeks. And I'm not actually one that gets to go to the schools each week. He gets to go and facilitate. So unfortunately, I was meeting the kids for the first time, so I didn't know who they were, but I could tell when they came in. I would see Devon go, "Who you with?" And they could lit, and then they come up to the table and give them dap, hug them up, and just the excitement that they had, not only to see you, but to just when I would ask them like, "Oh, you're in lit?" They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, with Mr. Truvel, Mr. Devon," and they would just be so excited when I asked them like, "Oh, you're ready for the field trip? Are you ready to do?" And they would just light up, and it was just so heartwarming. Yeah, that they are, you can tell that they truly enjoy being a part of the program. And so yeah, we want to spread that love. We want to spread that knowledge. We want to spread the exposure of how to think about a problem that these students, that these scholars have in their communities or in their households, and how to solve that problem with the business idea. Because at the end of the day, that's what every business is. It's solving some problem, trying to make someone's lives easier. And so if you are a scholar, or if you are a parent, or if you just love the sound of this program and know a school that can benefit from this, we would love to work with you and definitely try to get this program at the school. So you can give us a shout out at info@playblackwallstreet.com. Let us know what school, where are you at, who can we connect with to see if this program will work for the scholars at the school.
Boom, there it is. Well done, Queen.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a whole vibe. Sinclair knows I love the kids. Yes. It was real cool to see them there. And then for them to finally meet the Queen in person. "Oh, is that your wife? Is that the Queen?" Like, "Yo, that's her." Like, "Oh, hey."
The one that buys you food. That's me.
Oh, man. And we got a really good prize for our students this year. Yes, thank you, Jair. info@playblackwallstreet.com. Definitely make sure y'all hit us up. We have a really saucy prize. We told the principals about the prize like 3 weeks ago, and they were pretty juiced. They got fired
competition
up,
going
for sure. We told our mentors about the prize. Was that yesterday? 2 days ago, and they got even more pumped up. And we're
Very pumped.
Very, very pumped. And then, we're excited to share the prize with the winners and at the actual pitch competition, which is going down in 2 weeks, February 10th. Excited to finally present them the prize. Now, the reason why we haven't told the scholars the prize is because the very last lesson is we want them to figure out, are you going to get this $100 cash or $1,000 experience? And it's up to them. They choose. They choose the cash. We give them the cash. They choose the experience. We give them the experience. But that's like their last kind of quote unquote test of financial literacy for the program, right? So we're not going to tell y'all because we don't know how many of our scholars are listening to this. We don't know how many parents of our scholars are listening to this. So we're not going to spoil the surprise. Y'all are going to see where we end up. I'm not even going to finish that sentence.
Exactly.
I'm not going to finish that sentence. But definitely, if y'all want to tap into Black Wall Street, the board game, and teach your family about the history, legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street, if you want to tap into growing your financial literacy through a family fun board game, make sure y'all go to playblackwallstreet.com. Get yourself the board game today. Black History Month is just around the corner. You want to make sure you celebrate the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street and bring abundance, bring wealth, bring millionaire vibes and legacy into your household by getting Black Wall Street, the board game. Head to playblackwallstreet.com. Get your games today. Queen.
King.
Queen.
King.
Queen.
King.
Nice vocals. I see you.
You.
How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Feeling good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any last nuggets, any last things you need to give the people before we bid them farewell?
I do. Just one last I guess one last thing to think about.
I'm glad I asked. I almost ended this whole episode, Jair. That was close.
It wasn't like a mandatory thing, but since
close.
you asked, like something just popped in.
And it's
a message
great.
came.
And it's going to be great. I know it.
There's a lot of talk about where the market's going right now, right? With just everything's crashing and we're going into a recession, all of these things. When it comes to real estate, there really isn't a bad time to invest in real estate. When things start happening in other industries, if we go into a recession, a lot of investors, they start stacking up because that just basically means things go on sale, properties go on sale, and they start just going up and buying up a whole bunch of stuff. So I just say that to don't get too inundated with all of the recession talk and think like I can't buy real estate right now. That's not the case. If anything, again, as prices start to dip a little bit, that means that that's a good time for you to get in and buy. And so, yes, interest rates, they may be high right now, but if anything, that's something you can refinance out of later. So again, don't let that bog you down a little bit, too much. If this is a good time for you in your life to invest in real estate, then just figure out what's going to be the best strategy for you. Again, we've got the real estate investment trusts. You've got the single family home play. There's a lot of different ways you can get in the game. So yeah, I just wanted to say that of like, there's some folks, even friends that I've talked to that like, oh yeah, I want to get in real estate, but now we're going into a recession. So I'm just going to wait till next year.
Right. And I feel like people just say that, no disrespect to anyone who says this. They don't know what that means.
Right.
Like, what does a recession really mean for your pockets, for your investments? It's just, they hear on the news, we're in a recession. So they assume it's not a good time.
Right. Obviously if your income stream is iffy, or if you're not sure, right? Unfortunately, there are a lot of layoffs there.
If you are in a recession,
right? Then absolutely take a step back, get your money up, get your finances together. But if you feel solid in your income and you are ready to invest, don't let what's happening, all the recession talk, everybody, all the like, no, you can't buy right now. Don't let that get to you. Meet with your real estate agent, meet with your broker, meet with your financial planner, whoever it is, and just figure out what's going to be the right strategy for you.
And again, disclaimer, we are not real estate professionals. Please contact your real estate professional for any advice. And once again, the M4 show will not be liable for any decisions that you decide to do in the market. Oh, man. But of course, wish y'all all the love, all the success, all the prosperity. Thanks for rocking with us. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
And I'm Sinclair, a.k.a. the Health Nerd.
Make sure y'all secure the marriage. Make sure y'all secure the love. And of course, make sure y'all secure the bag. Peace. Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, Anything, all of them. All of them. Wherever you're listening, go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.